Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. So today is the day that I get to work on bodywork. With me, bodywork's kind of a love-hate relationship. I've been working on this car for a long time now. Bodywork is it's a needed process, but it's very time-consuming. But I'm up early today and I want to get out here in the garage and get going on the passenger side door as well as the trunk lid. Once those two things are finished, the bodywork for this car will pretty much be done. The only other thing that I would have left to do is the hood back here, but I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with the hood. One, I'm either going to vinyl wrap it. Two, I might get an aftermarket one. Or three, I might just take the vinyl wrap off of that one, strip it down just like all the other body panels, and paint it whatever color I decide to paint the car. So if y'all have any sort of suggestions, post it in the comment section below. I'll be curious to see what you all think. But before I do anything, I've got to get some space cleared up in here in the garage and bring in a couple of tables so I'll have an area where I can put the body panels on and work on them easily. I'm warning you all ahead of time, this video is probably going to have a lot of time lapses, so go grab a snack or some popcorn or something. Hopefully it's not too long. I'm going to try and keep it under 10 minutes, but like I said, this process is very long and tedious, but it has to get done. Alright, so I've got an area for the door, and as you can see, all of the components are still on the door, so let's go ahead and get all those off. Before we start taking apart this door, make sure you have some plastic bags to put all the bolts in and a marker so you can write down what the bolts are for. It's going to make it a lot easier when it's time for reassembly. You'll have all the bolts labeled. It should make that process a lot easier. Alright, so all of the seam sealer has been removed from the door as well as all the components. So to remove this black gunky stuff, I usually use a razor to take off most of it, and then I'll come back with some of this quick clean stuff because it dissolves it pretty well. At least that's the process that I use. I'm sure there's probably a better way to do it, but let's go ahead and do that first and then get to cleaning the rest of the door. Alright guys, the door is clean. And I know to some of you all it probably seems pretty counterintuitive. I mean, there's no really reason to clean this door when I'm going to strip all the paint off. But what I use to remove the paint is this stuff. Aircraft remover. It's super nasty. But it's really good stuff. So it takes all the paint off. And it works a lot better when the paint is scuffed up. However, I do have one problem. The aircraft remover stuff that I have, there's barely any in there. There's not going to be anywhere near enough to do the door. So I'm going to have to go to Home Depot and buy another container of the aircraft remover paint stripper stuff so we can remove all the paint off the door. Again, like I said, since it's all scuffed up now and clean, it's going to be a lot easier. I'll show you what I'm talking about when we get some of that paint stripper on this door and start removing the paint. Hey everyone, so it's about 11 o'clock. I decided I was going to come out into the garage and at least get started on this door. I don't think I'll get it finished tonight, but we'll at least put some of that paint stripper on there, get some of the paint off, so the process will be a little bit easier tomorrow. I ended up having to go to about 3 different places to get this stuff, and I finally did. I had to get it at Pep Boys. Home Depot didn't have it, neither did AutoZone. But anyway, that stuff's really good to remove paint off of doors, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. Alright, so this stuff is awesome, but it is very nasty. I mean, as you can see, the top there. If you get this stuff on your skin, it will start burning and you'll have to either wipe it off or get some water and actually wipe it down. So make sure you're using gloves when you use this kind of stuff. And I use a brush to brush it on. Hey guys, so the door is pretty much stripped of all the paint. There is still some paint around the edges that I have to take care of, and I'm actually going to use an angle grinder and an abrasive wheel to take care of all that, just because I don't want to get the stripper up underneath the seams that go around the edges, but majority of it has all been removed. So it's day 2 of the bodywork video, and as you can see behind me, I've gotten this door almost all the way stripped down of paint, at least on the outside. Unfortunately, yesterday my camera battery died, so I didn't get to record all of what I did to remove the remainder of the paint. There's still some that I have to do right here at the door handle, and then back over here too, and a little bit around it. So the goal for today is to finish up the remaining paint that's on there, strip it off, and then start filling in some of the imperfections with some body filler and sanding it out so it's nice and smooth. And then if time permits today, I want to try and get it in an epoxy primer. So let's go ahead and get started. I think it's probably about 1 o'clock right now, and I've got a couple things I have to do today, so I won't be able to spend all day out here, but hopefully I'll be able to spend the majority of the day and get some of this stuff done. here's the door. All stripped down, at least the outside. I'll end up, once this is all painted, I'll flip the door over and do the inside as well. So there are a couple obvious places on this door that are going to need body filler and some that aren't as obvious. So this right here for sure will need some body filler. If you look at the door with the light hitting it correctly, you'll see right there, that's a little dent, a door ding, that'll have to be body fillered over. But there's also some spots on here that aren't as noticeable to the human eye, but with your hand and a glove on it, you can feel it. A lot of detailers will do this with their hand. They'll put a glove on, or they'll kind of wrap their hand in some like thin plastic. It makes your sense of feel a little bit more heightened, I guess you could say. But what I usually do is I'll just rub my hand along here, and I'll notice where there are some problem areas that I don't necessarily see with my eye, but I can feel with my hand. Specifically right here, there's a little crease dent right there that I didn't really see until I started feeling the door, as well as a couple of others down here at the bottom. Obviously some of this is roughed up, but there are some dings and waves down here that'll need to be taken care of as well. But when you rub your hand across it like that, especially like this dent right here, the only reason I can see this is because I sanded it and it kind of came out as a different hue of silver, I guess. It's not all scratched up, but if you run your hand along here, you can definitely feel that dent right there. But to the eye, it's super hard to see. When it's not scuffed up, you would not even see that. So anyway, so I make a little template of the door and kind of mark out some problem areas where I need to work the body filler. It's just something that I can reference. So now that the door is pretty much all ready to go, let's move on to the body filler process. The filler that I like to use is Evercoat Rage Gold. It's a lightweight body filler, and it's super easy to sand, and it applies on really nicely and smoothly, and I really recommend it. I'm not getting paid from them or anything like that. That's just the body filler that I've been using. So that's it for the first coat of body filler on there. Actually, this door is surprisingly straight, so I'm only doing little areas at a time instead of doing a full skim coat. We're gonna give it some time to dry, and then I'll come out here and start shaping it. All right, so when you start sanding, you wanna use some sanding blocks. You can use popsicle sticks or anything that's hard. These little Durablock sanders are pretty awesome. When I first initially sand the body filler, I will usually use 120 on one of these blocks to kind of cut it down pretty easy. And then after that, I'll move on to, I move on to 220, which is this sandpaper right here. That kind of feathers it in a little bit better, and then I'll end up finishing it off with 320 as well. But make sure when you're sanding, you do use these sanding blocks to keep it nice and straight. And when you sand the body filler, you also want to sand in a crisscross fashion. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here in just a second. First step I use is 120 on a sanding block. And make sure you sand in a crisscross fashion. So this way and then this way as well. And you can feel with your hand, I can still tell that this side right here is not that flat. Over here is a little bit better, but this side needs a little bit more work. All right, so that's pretty good. So now from here we move on to the next grit, which is 220. All right, and that feels pretty good, nice and straight. And you can see on here on the edges where it's, they call this a feather edge, where it kind of blends into the panel. So we don't have any hard edges. These are all feathered in and everything's nice and smooth. Basically, I'm gonna do the same process for all the other places where I put body filler on this door. So here's how they look. And all of these spots are sanded and they all have feather edges. It gets almost transparent right around there on the edge. That's what you're looking for when you're sanding body filler down. Here's another body filler spot, all sanded down nice and smooth. Same thing here. Down around here on the edge of the door, feels a lot more smooth now. I might have a little bit to do in here. Maybe work on it just a hair more or right around in here. But it feels pretty good. And again, the high build primer that's gonna go on here, I'm gonna build it up a little bit and sand it down, and all of that should come out with the high build. But one little trick I like to do on areas like this that I don't know if I've gotten it straight enough is to use a little bit of wax and grease remover, and then this thing that I've got, it's just a little light thing. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray some silicone wax and grease remover on here to make it all nice and shiny, and then I'm gonna just let this kind of go down along it, and if everything is nice and flat, you should see a straight reflection. You can kind of see it there. You should see a straight reflection all the way from one end to the other. I don't know how good that's going to show up on camera, but let's go ahead and try it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. You just take this, and the reflection, to me, is nice and straight. I don't see any distortion of this little light wand. Again, I don't know if you can see it. But it looks pretty straight to me. So I came out to the garage to work on the AE86 door, but I've got a little bit of bad news. I'm actually out of epoxy primer, so I'm pretty much as far as I can get on the door. Unfortunately, the place where I get the epoxy primer that I've been using on all the panels is closed today, and it's also closed tomorrow. So I think I've decided to go ahead and end the video here and at least get something posted for you all so you're not waiting, you know, super long for an update to this project. So next video, we'll just jump right back into the door. We'll get the epoxy primer put on this door, finish up the trunk just a little bit, also get that coated in epoxy primer, as well as high build. If you all enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Again, I apologize for this video ending so abruptly, but unfortunately, I'm stuck kind of at this point until I get a container of epoxy primer. And I also just want to take a minute to thank every single one of you for subscribing to this channel. I just rolled over 300 subscribers, which is freaking awesome. My goal this year is to reach 1,000 by the end of the year. So hopefully I can get there, and I really do appreciate every single one of you subscribing to this channel. It really makes me feel great and motivates me to come out here and work on this project. All right, so I guess that's it. Until next time, I'll see you later.